got some high schoolers here off to a great start. I love this. First row. All right, good evening, everyone. Hello, my name is Raymond Ronconi. I'm the proud principal of Troy High School. I have been here at Troy High for over 20 years now and excited to start a group of new students here on that 4-year journey. Troy High is a very special place to me and to our entire community, and tonight you're going to learn about the scheduling, the curriculum side of things, and then in just a little bit in May, I'm going to have a program for you that lasts about an hour that talks about everything else. So tonight, we're going to turn over to our experts, our counselors, our department heads. We're going to talk about the teaching and learning, the curriculum side of things, and then, like I said, after that, it'll be everything else. So just so they know, and I know, who's starting this journey on high school as a parent for the first time of a high schooler? All right, that's what I thought. And then those returning folks, welcome back. So excited to have you back here at Troy High. So Troy High, for some of you that don't know that, just some recent accolades that I think is it's a pretty cool thing to celebrate. But on an annual basis, we are either the #1 or number 2 feeder school to Michigan and Michigan State. And we just were ranked in the state, the school district with the highest graduation rate and the lowest dropout rate. So those are great things that are going to lead to success for your children. So again, just really excited to have you here tonight. You're going to learn a lot about the scheduling side and all the amazing courses that we have to offer. And then, like I said, hopefully you can join us back here in the auditorium, and students who are part of that program too. Just so you know, we're going to divide parents and kids on May 1st, right? I think that's when it is, on May 1st. So mark your calendar for May 1st. So without any other hesitation here, I know the curriculum side, you're waiting to hear all about those courses and that opportunity to go in and schedule those courses. So Mrs. Allgaier, our wonderful department head for our counseling department, is going to get us started. So if we can give her a great round of applause. Again, welcome to Troy High. Excited to work with you for the next 4 years.
Thank you, Mr. Ronconi. Good evening, class of 2029 parents. We are very, very excited to get to know your students. We will be meeting them on April 2nd and April 3rd in person. So we're looking really forward to that. Tonight, we are, as Mr. Ronconi was saying, we are going to be talking specifically about the Troy School District curriculum in high school, as well as the scheduling process. So how you will actually be able to schedule with your child. A couple of little notes. We have already put this slide deck onto our website, troycounselingweebly.com. It is on the front page of that website. So if you want to follow along, if it's easier for you to just pull that slide deck up, you're welcome to do that. And the other thing is we are going to keep Power Schools open through the weekend. We realize that there's not a whole lot of time after tonight. It was supposed to close tomorrow. To get everything done with your child and talk about all of the fun things you have to talk about. So the Power School the portal will be open for you to continue to schedule through this weekend. So as Mr. Ronconi was saying, on May 1st, that is when your children will have the opportunity to come in and have an orientation. They'll be able to do some really fun things with some of our older students, get to see the building, and while they are doing that, as Mr. Ronconi said, he will have all kinds of fun information for you as first-time or maybe returning parents. You can learn some new things about Troy High. So the transition from middle school to high school, it's such an exciting time for your students. Maybe a little bit nerve-wracking too. So we as the counselors we are here for them. And our journey with them will start when we return from spring break on April 2nd and April 3rd when we do those individual scheduling meetings. That will be our opportunity to meet them in person and have a little chat with them. And then when they come back in the fall, we'll also be doing sort of a little curriculum that we create, the counseling department creates. We will be working with all of our freshman class in the fall as well. So what do we do as counselors? So very much like what middle school counselors do, we are all therapists. So our most important job is to make sure that your children are safe and their well-being is being cared for. So we are, we can do crisis management, we can have any kind of therapeutic intervention needed, but we also wear a lot of other hats too. So while we're doing that, we're also helping your children with their scheduling. We're helping them with any kind of academic questions or concerns they have. Later on, we'll be helping them with their college application process and talking about selecting colleges or whatever it is that they choose to do once they graduate. We are always kind of changing our hats, but pretty much we always tell our students, we want you to come to us, and if we for some reason don't have an answer to a question, or we know that there's a better person that they can speak to, then we can send them to that person. So we like to be kind of the front line. And the other thing we always tell our ninth graders is that in our counseling office, we do not have any kind of system for creating appointments, and that is very intentional. We do not want our students to have to make an appointment to come see us if they're having a bad day right at that moment. We want them to come see us when they're having a bad day at that moment, So we have an open door policy, and your children will see pretty quickly when they start at Troy High next fall that we have students coming in and out of our office constantly. It is an open and rotating door. Our purpose is to be helpful. So that's us, the counselors. I would like to introduce you to everyone. This here is Mrs. Brennan. She is actually our assistant principal. Then we have Mr. Ali Ahmed, Mr. Lee, Mrs. Subsensky, Ms. Hauberg. And Ms. Hauberg is actually our former intern and now the substitute for Mrs. Bigelow, who is currently at home with her brand new baby girl, Jocelyn June. And so we're very happy for Mrs. Bigelow. She will be back next year, and Ms. Hauberg is doing an amazing job currently in her place. And then we have Mr. Keegan. We also have Mrs. Frent over here. I think I got everybody. So that is the counseling crew. So, with regards to our curriculum, we have a course description book that is really helpful. So hopefully you're aware of it already. You've had an opportunity to look through the course description book. It provides, obviously, descriptions of each one of our courses that are available in the Troy School District. It also provides information about if there are prerequisites for courses. It will tell you what grades are able to take those courses and what classes need to be taken prior to those courses. It also provides flowcharts that are very helpful, particularly for math, so that you can see the sequence of the math courses, and also for science. Lots and lots of information in there. One little thing I do always remind parents is that not every class that's listed in the course description book will necessarily run during the school year. So, but they are courses that we offer, and if we have enough students that request that class during the scheduling process, then that class will run. The graduation requirements, which I'm gonna just briefly go over in a second, are listed in the course description book as well. And like I said, there are lots of nice flowcharts to help clarify. So in high school, our students attain graduation by earning credits. So I'm gonna have you guys do a little math. So our students get 0.5 credits for each course that they successfully complete. And they have 6 courses in one semester. So how many credits do they earn in a semester? 3. So in a year, they would earn 6. So in 4 years, they would earn 24, exactly. So you can earn 24 credits at Troy High School without ever having to do summer school, and you still have a cushion because we require 22.5 credits to graduate. So that cushion is very intentional. So you have to successfully pass the class to earn the actual credit. And when you earn for each year, typically a student will earn those 6 credits. And we definitely do have students who exceed the 22 and a half, but that does not mean that they're graduating early. That just means that they've earned more credits. Okay, so graduation requirements. I will go through this kind of briefly, and then we'll pass the torch to Mr. Keegan, who's going to talk about these credits in terms of how you're going to schedule. But within those 22 and a half credits, 19 credits are required. 19 and a half. We just changed it, so I'll talk about that. Are actual required courses. So for English, all students in the Troy School District must earn 4 credits of English, 1 credit per year. For social studies, all students are required to earn 3 credits of social studies that are very specifically defined. They will have World History in their freshman year, World History 1. They will have American History 1 and American History 2 in their sophomore year. They will have Econ and Government in their junior year, and then in their senior year, they will have World History 2. Now, there's a little new credit or requirement that was added by the state. It is called personal finance. You will see that on the graduation requirements when you look in the course description book. We want to make it clear that the personal finance class that is required by the state has been embedded into our economics class. So it is not an additional course that your student will have to take. That personal finance class is already embedded into the economics class. So we've had a lot of questions about that. So after social studies, then for science, you are going to, your child will need to take 3 credits of science. They will take a full year of introductory biology A. They will need to take physics 1 and chemistry 1, and they will need to take environmental science, human impact, and then they will need a half a credit of an elective. Now, a lot of students may take more than that, and that is wonderful, but that's the minimum for graduation requirements. For math, same thing, they're gonna need 4 credits, 1 credit each year. And again, they're math electives, so they can certainly look at that as well. This is all posted online, and so you can access it whenever. So for PE, our students are required to take a full credit of PE, 2 half credits. Our students are also required to take a health class. They are required to take a full credit of VPAA, which is Visual Performing Arts. What am I missing? Applied Arts, thank you. So a full credit of that, so usually that's 2 semesters of VPAA, and sometimes it's a full year. It could be auto, it could be business classes, so there are lots of options there. And then the world language requirement is 2 full credits of world language, preferably the same language. And then lastly, there is, you'll see it in there that there's a 20-hour online requirement for students. That also is embedded. That is not something that students need to do outside of school. They're clearly spending plenty of time online in school and outside of school, so you don't need to worry about that. And lastly, just to clarify, there is no graduation requirement relating to volunteer hours in any way. So that kind of briefly covers our graduation requirements. I am going to hand it over to Mr. Keegan, and he is going to tell you about the classes specifically and graduation and
scheduling. It's lovely to get a crowd this large, and that means that I can cut something off before I get a lot of questions in conferences and future meetings. Do I have Schroeder parents here? Yeah. Mrs. Keegan is my sister-in-law, not my wife, so I'll just start you right there if anyone has met her before and cut off all those conversations and questions. So I'm so happy to have you guys here. I was given the opportunity to talk about specific classes for our freshmen and kind of walk you through each department and some scheduling options that you'll be making. I will try to give you as much detail and information, but as we directed before, the course description guide is a wonderful opportunity for you to look deeper into those course offerings and specifically maybe what the studies would be within that class or some of the demands of those courses. So as we start looking at the planning guide, which is documents that you've received, hopefully they made it home from the middle schools when we gave it to them, to your door. And if not, of course, you can always reach out to us if you need any extras. But as you are working through your planning guide and sitting down with the children, and it's so important to sit down with them, right? Whether you've had an older child come through our high school and you've worked with them, or they're giving a lot of guidance, for the independence of these young students, for them to feel like this is their start of their journey and that they are making these choices and that they are providing input in what they enjoy, they like to study, maybe what their future goals or aspirations are. So when we look at making those choices, there's some things that we want to make sure that we touch on. The main one is as you go through it, you'll see that there are credit values on that planning guide. You want to make sure those credits add up to 6 total credits for your primary choices. And I'll walk you through those. For our freshman schedules, a lot of them just kind of fall in place, right? We look at English and math, and I'll get through all of them. You'll probably get through the course subjects and go, oh, I'm more than halfway done. That was easier than I thought. But as we start to talk about unique opportunities for students in different disciplines, you'll see that, okay, we have some choice there too. It is essential that you look at choosing alternative courses as well. Pay close attention to those alternative courses. What I like to do, I've had meetings the past 3 weeks with our current freshmen, sophomore, and juniors, is I ask students, what is maybe a course you'd like to take in the future? If you don't happen to have 7 credits to pick for next year, what is something that maybe was left off that list? What is something that you're still interested in maybe for sophomore year? And that's where you can start with those conversations of what are those alternate courses. So start with those core academic subjects. You'll find that that really gets the ball rolling well. And from there, complete with 6 credits and make sure you have alternates that make sense for your child. Picking random alternates could backfire, right? When schedules are made in the summer, if for any reason the hour in which an elective course runs, or if it has been filled by other students, and when I say other students, upperclassmen and things that have access to those, we want to make sure that those alternates make sense so they take the place of the course that maybe they were unable to get. Starting off quite possibly with the easiest course decision, for English, we have English 9. That's the class that all of our freshmen will be taking. In this course, they will, write drafts, get revisions, there'll be teacher modeling, there's built-in class time for silent reading and dialogue and discussion, a big emphasis on collaboration and hearing other people's viewpoints to help each other grow in their literacy skills and learning of text and discussion, of course. It is essential, kind of to start it off, this is our first full year course that we're discussing. It is essential that you pick both the first and second semester of the course. It's real simple for us counselors because we see these course code numbers all the time, but just make sure you're picking both the first and second semester of the course. It is a year-long class. After that, we'll talk about social studies. So social studies starts in our curriculum with World History 1 in their freshman year. As Ms. Allgaier discussed throughout the years, they'll hit American History, Econ Gov, and they actually end with World History 2. They're kind of like the bookends of our social studies curriculum. Having World History 1 is another one of those classes where those students will be surrounded by their freshman peers, building relationships, making connections from kids all around our district or those that are new to our district. Another unique opportunity to our freshmen is a course called AP Human Geography. So AP Human Geography is an advanced placement class. It follows the College Board curriculum, which if you are more interested, you can look onto the College Board website. What of it exactly is covered in that course. It is a college-level curriculum that is offered or provided to freshman students. So right now, those freshman students are 8th graders running around the middle schools with a wide array of emotions and feelings about coming to high school. When we start to think about students challenging themselves with curriculum, I always start by asking my students, is this something that you're really interested in? And if your kid says, I am not interested in geography or humans, then you might want to say, well, let's look into the curriculum. I want you to think about it, right? You might want to look into it. It is a very challenging course at the College Board curriculum level. But if you have a child they're watching the documentaries on the History Channel and going deep dives and doing their own personal research and they have a passion for something, then maybe it's something that they would like to explore. New to the graduating class of 2029, it always gets weird when we start saying that first graduating year. It seems so far in the future, but it will be here soon. The completion of the AP Human Geography curriculum will meet the World History 1 graduation requirement. So we have realigned those benchmarks to ensure that students will get the World History 1 graduation requirement by successfully completing the AP Human Geography curriculum. And if some of you have had students in the past, this is a change that has been made due to a realignment of those benchmarks of learning for our students. You might see in the planning guide or online on the PowerSchool website the letters LS. Those are our courses for language support for our students. So if your student is currently in middle school and receives language support due to English being a second, third, or fourth language, I know we have a lot of bi, tri, quadlingual families, then potentially those are courses that would support them. Generally, you'll be receiving some guidance from the middle school on making those selections, and we'll be able to connect with them on those discussions that we have at their middle schools as well. If for any reason a student that does not require those supports selects those courses, when we meet with them, we're able to make those adjustments or changes for them if it's not deemed necessary for them. Science, all right. Former science teacher, all right, here we go. So all of our freshman students take introductory biology. It is once again a full year class. I'd love to go back, but I don't use this enough. Just to let you guys know, that World History 1 class was a half credit, so it's only one semester. But here we are back to a full year course, making sure you select both semesters for introductory biology. And we have LS or language support options for our incoming freshmen as well. Those tend to change from year to year depending upon the needs of our students. If considering additional science credits in the 9th grade, follow the planning guide to consider math prerequisites. That's a long sentence that's mildly vague, but I'm here to talk a little bit more about that. So within freshman year, students are given the opportunity to take more science credits, once again, if that is their interest. Much like the AP Human Geography class, we do not push kids into those classes. We try not to push kids into those pathways. But if your child is into science, much like I was when I was 14 years old, having a science teacher as a father, they have some options. So we have Chemistry 1 and 2. Chemistry 1 is a half semester. Chemistry 2 is a half semester. Those can be taken in freshman year. We have Physics 1 and 2. Those can be taken potentially in the freshman year. But as I read before mentioning either of those courses, there are some math prerequisites. Things such as geometry necessary or completion of geometry necessary for Algebra 2. We use SOHCAHTOA, we're doing angles on projectiles and stuff like that. They need that prerequisite knowledge to be successful in that course. So I know science is of great interest of many of our students, so I encourage you to have those conversations with your students and use that course description guide and those flow charts that are provided in there as a way to kind of direct those conversations. And of course, when we connect with your students at the middle school, we're happy to have conversations regarding science or any other subject. Mathematics, I have always kind of thought math and English go together. They're very much so in sequence. So your child is potentially in a math class this year. Not potentially, I can assure you they are. And depending on the math course that they're in right now, they will continue on to the next course in sequence. That applies as well to honors courses in our district. One thing that I feel could be said and you could benefit from, at any point within the math curriculum, I think, especially when it comes to making scheduling choices, identifying where your learner is within their given math class and making a decision for the next year's course appropriately. So if you have a child that has potentially been in an honors math course in the past, but we've started to see some struggles due to the pacing of the course, the rigor of the overall schedule that they might have, the demands inside or outside of school, it is totally okay for us to think about, should we continue on with an honors course, or should we kind of reach for a higher level of success within a general math course? Because in the long run, overall success within a course generally takes a student much further if then we start seeing a decline in those grades for the math course by just sticking it through or kind of working through the difficulty of an honors course. So there's the sequence: Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, Pre-Calculus, Calculus A, B, BC, we have stats, we have computer science courses. All those are interest to students, and you can use that course description guide once again to get more information. World language. I love how many world languages Troy High has. Not only are so many languages spoken in our hallways, but great opportunities for students to learn these world languages. I always try to put an emphasis on the fact that just learning the language is not part of these classes. They're learning about the culture and history of these countries. And to get a world view by being in these classes is so important. You'll see on the graduation requirements how many years are required. And we definitely encourage our students not only to be a part of one of these classes, but each and every one of them has a club associated to identify that they can continue to grow as a learner within those clubs. And I'm sure the people at the tables after this meeting would be happy to discuss that further. But we got French, German, Spanish, Japanese, Chinese, and every time I meet with kids who are in these classes, I try to learn a little bit of that language. I need more time. I'm not going to share any words with you. Oh, yeah, I'm not even going to try. All right. Health. Health is highly recommended as a course in freshman year. Kind of going back to the world history class, as I mentioned, health is a phenomenal class which all freshmen take, and it's a great opportunity, I'll say it, to kind of get through some difficult conversations about living healthy lifestyles, but within your peer group, all at the same time, as you enter our school from different parts of our neighborhoods, or our community, but also from outside as new students join us every year. It is half a credit, doesn't take up much space in the planning guide and selecting of classes, but it is a required course for graduation, and once again, highly recommended for our 9th grade class. I just met with juniors a week ago. I had many of students who are seniors and need this class to graduate. Nothing bad about incoming freshmen, they're gonna be great. But when I look at that senior and say, you have to take health, you'll be joining our class of 2029 in that class. Yeah. I can't repeat those words either, just like the world language. All right. Physical education. We have 2 options for Intro to PE, Intro to PE 1 and Intro to PE 2. Both of those are graduation requirements. And when I say that, they do not have to take both. I'm sorry if that was misleading. So students can take either Intro to PE 1 or Intro to PE 2. Intro to PE 1 is a course that's welcoming to all ability levels, all experiences within physical education, and provides a great curriculum not only in things like the sports and the rules of sports and sportsmanship and an active and healthy lifestyle, but also CPR and interesting components of the physical education courses. Intro to PE 2 is for students that essentially consider themselves more athletically driven. Maybe they're a student that's been on team sports for many, many years, since they were a little toddler maybe, who knows. And they want a course that maybe provides a little higher level of teamwork and maybe engaging in things such as tournaments or other activities. So it's a great opportunity for students that maybe want to show up every day, lace up their sneakers super tight, and really get into the games and activities that they really enjoy. When you see below, we have the elective PE requirement as well. When students start planning for their high school classes, that's an opportunity for a continued learning and development within our physical education units. There are some ways in which a student can obtain credit for that PE elective. We have a massive marching band, highly, highly, highly praised for their skill level and their dedication to that craft. If you ever happen to drive by the school in the summer, I'm sure you hear and see them, and I will tell you this. After completing 2 seasons or 2 years of marching band, I think it is well deserved that they meet the PE elective requirement, and that's what the district agrees to as well. So if your kid happens to be in marching band, participating 2 or more years within that activity, that will take the place of that PE elective course. That is also true for our students that participate in team sports with Troy High. So if a student participates in 2 or more years of a team sport, they also, it's not a necessity for them to take the PE elective. If there are any other questions that you have or your student has regarding that PE elective, have them bring it to that meeting when we have it with the middle schools, and we can help them discover how they may be able to either take a very exciting course within that curriculum or determine in which way they may already have met that requirement after a couple years of high school. Our VPAA classes, you'll hear us say VPAA. Hopefully your kids learn what VPAA is. Even my juniors, when I say VPAA, they don't know what I'm talking about. It's our visual performing and applied arts. That includes curriculum from our art. So art, drawing, painting, multimedia, computer graphics, all those things. Our business courses, which do include our marketing courses, finance courses, a lot of different opportunities there. Industrial technology, such as our engineering courses, woodworking, things like that. Life skill courses, foods and culture, parent-childhood development, personal money management. Music, of course, band, orchestra, vocal performance, and theater. If you're lucky enough to attend any of our theater performances here, I know we just had one that wrapped. Many of our students that are a part of our theater programs here enjoy taking those classes as well and develop their skills to get greater experience and potentially greater roles in the future due to that new skill build. So students will take these with 1 credit needed for graduation, and notice the difference in opportunities. So there's something for everybody. When we look at our alternative request, remember it's extremely important when we're building our schedules that the requests that you put in are simply that request. They are not guarantees. So obviously we try our best to get students all the courses that they desire, but sometimes due to scheduling conflicts, it's really challenging or not possible. So it's really important that you focus on those alternate courses. It may be stated later on in the presentation, but I will say this. While PowerSchool is open through the weekend, it is not a race to get the schedules in to guarantee you better seat or selection of classes. That is not the case. Everyone has equal draw of these courses. We try to build classes starting with those core academics, and then the electives would follow behind. It's a requirement that you pick 4 alternates and be very mindful of what you put there. So have good discussions with your students to make sure that those are courses that they want. So here is, as we kind of discussed, a sample schedule. You'll find that within student schedules for freshman year, a lot of them look very, very, very similar. So this student who we just randomly pulled with teachers that do not teach here either anymore or ever, sounds good. I'll tell you that Jessica McHale, she's a great teacher. All right, not a teacher here. But this student here, for example, you'll see 9th grade English. Every freshman is taking English 9. Intro to biology. Every freshman's taking intro to biology. They have their world history. They have their health, their intro to PE. Their math course, given in sequence, would have been Algebra 1 for them. Perfectly suitable. And this student decided to take marketing. Whether or not that was their primary decision, they're taking our Marketing 1 course. This is a totally appropriate course schedule for a freshman student. You'll notice hitting many, if not all the grad requirements we encourage students to take in freshman year, not only to work towards building towards credits of graduation, but also to be mixed in with their peers to build those relationships that they'll continue to grow over the next 4 years. Following this sample schedule, I will now be handing it to Ms. Frent.
All right, this is the fun part. This is the last section. So are we ready to lock in? We're gonna low-key lock in down in the front? Okay, good. So when we visited the middle schools, we passed out planning guides to everyone, and we started this process with the 8th graders. So after we went through all those slides Mr. Keegan just went through, we had students start to write down at least their core courses. So they should have written down on the planning guide, English 9 for semester 1 and 2, bio for semester 1 and 2, and just kind of go through those core courses. This is just a place where students can kind of start to think. Some students were like, wait, I have 9 credits. Can I take 9 credits? And I said, no, teachers go home after 6. You cannot stay for 3 more hours of the day, but I love that you love school. So some of those electives that they're super excited about might just have to wait till 10th, 11th, or 12th grade. But we were so excited to see how excited they were about some of the classes that we offer at Troy High. After that is when we have families put those requests into PowerSchool. And hopefully this is a really user-friendly process. We put them right in order of department, right with the planning guide. So the first thing that families will see is English. And once a student selects English 9 for semester 1 and 2, then they'll get a green check for English. That means that that section is complete. They can move on to the next section. If they get a red exclamation point, it means that that section needs to be completed in order to submit. So a student cannot submit without alternate courses or without a math course. So it really won't let students mess up too badly. But don't worry, this is not a cutthroat situation. If students do make a mistake or pick the wrong class, that's why we meet with them individually. So that's why we go to the middle schools and meet with students. We make any necessary or preferred changes at that time. It's already been stated, but you do get a little more time for the weekend. But if there are any technical difficulties, like Power Scheduler just crashes, no worries. Your child's educational pathway will not be upended. There are no reasons to stress out at any time. We can help through that process. So hopefully, like, over 95% of our students will have their draft in PowerSchool before we meet with them. But if anything comes up, as long as a student fills out their planning guide, when we meet with them, we'd easily be able to input those in PowerSchool, and you'd be able to log in and see them too. So this is the online portion. Hopefully everyone is able to complete that before counselors go to middle schools. One question we get a lot is about summer school. I promise you, parents, students can graduate from Troy High School in 4 years without ever having to take summer school. It is not mandatory. We love how much our kids love school, but we also want them to love summer and be well-rounded people. So summer school is not mandatory. In fact, it's meant for credit recovery when a student does not pass a class and needs to recover a graduation requirement. However, if a student is committed to a music like band or orchestra or choir all year for 4 years, and they're taking a world language, well, that takes up a lot of their spots. So only in that case would a student really have to maybe pick a class or two, those graduation requirements, to take in summer school. And that would free up some space for maybe other classes that they wanted to take down the road. We are hoping that students choose classes that do not go in sequence, a class that is just like a one class. For example, our freshmen might choose to take Intro to PE in the summer for a variety of those reasons. It doesn't build. They don't need Intro to PE to be successful in the next course, so that might be an appropriate choice, or something like Health or World History 1. But the majority of our students are not going to need summer school. Classes in the summer are taught exclusively through Edgenuity. They are virtual except for Intro to PE. If a student is registering for summer school, registration opens April 1st and it goes all the way until the end of the school year. The virtual classes do not fill up. Intro to PE might, but the virtual classes do not. For scheduling purposes, it's really important that a student does not put a class in their course request for 9th grade that they are registering for in summer school. So, for example, if a student is for sure registered, they're going to take Intro to PE in summer, they do not put that for 9th grade because they would have already taken it. So then they get to the beginning of school and they're like, oh, I already took this class. And there might not be another elective for them that fits with their schedule. So for scheduling purposes, they do not select a class like Intro to PE or World History 1 or Health that they're going to take the following year. For classes that go in sequence, like math, for example, that is intended for credit recovery, not advancement. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. So for things like summer school or test out for classes that go in sequence, students are going to select the next class in sequence for Power School. And then if they still pass the test out, counselors make those changes after we get the results. So you might have heard that our school offers test out opportunities. Test out requests come out every year in February and close in March. There's a non-math test out. That registration has already closed. And then we have a math test out request. This is for students who already have a comprehensive understanding of the material. The best example of this is a world language. A student speaks Spanish at home. They have studied Spanish. They have gone to Chinese school for 10 years. Going into the level 1 of those languages would be inappropriate. So they take a test out to show their mastery of that subject area, and then they get to go to the next class in sequence. That would be the best example. It is not intended for self-study. Like I'm gonna buy a textbook online and I'm going to study every night and then I'm going to try to test out of this class. That's not really the intention. For math, sometimes this is appropriate, especially if a student moves into Troy in middle school, and maybe there were a variety of factors that placed them into a certain math class, and they know that they can show mastery of that particular math course and move on to the next one in sequence successfully. For test outs, like I said, students are just scheduling the next class in sequence. So if a student has signed up to take a geometry test out, then they are going to just put geometry in Power School, and once high school counselors get a list of the students who successfully passed that test out, we go in and make the change to the next class in sequence. So when families are trying to make these important decisions about doing summer school for advancement or attempting a test out, we think it's really important that you have all of the information. And part of that is knowing how our students are performing after they're doing a class in sequence for advancement. So we compiled, with some help from the math department and what they were seeing and what we were seeing on transcripts, to show what happens when really great students in math are trying to replace 40 weeks of geometry or geometry honors instruction with a credit recovery online summer school. And so what we often see is students who had A's in Algebra 1 honors in 8th grade and then attempted geometry and then tried to skip to Algebra 2 or double jump to Algebra 2 honors. We see this downward trend through math that we would not have seen if they stayed the course. Now again, there are sometimes exceptions to this. Like I said, someone moves into Troy, for whatever reason they haven't been able to show their mastery of the subject, and this is a way for them to do so. But what we find is that slow and steady typically wins the race. These are students who also had good grades in Algebra 1 honors, who went on to geometry or geometry honors, and along that pathway had continued success throughout the math curriculum all the way up until the AP classes in 11th or 12th grade. So it's just important information to share so you have all of that information as you're making those individual choices with your student. Some important dates. Again, we're going to the middle schools. We're so excited to meet with them individually. Counselors tonight are presenting information. So this is how it's gonna go every single year when we do scheduling. For the last 3 weeks, we've been meeting one-on-one with every single one of our students. It takes a long time. So I apologize if there were maybe 1 or 2 emails that slipped by us. If you were asking a question about an 8th grade schedule question or 4-year plan, we were meeting with all of our 9th, 10th, and 11th graders individually over these last 3 weeks. And now we're going to go and do the same thing with our 8th graders. Every year, we talk with students about their current courses and their grades. We talk about their future goals, their teacher recommendations, their ideas for the future, and we help to go through PowerSchool with them, the draft that they put in, and help to make sure that they're meeting all their graduation requirements and that they are doing what's best for them going forward. Looking at balance is the biggest thing that we do, making sure that students are not taking on too much. That's what we see a lot here at Troy High, and making sure also that they are challenging themselves and performing well. So kind of like imagine a flow chart, if you will. So this is how scheduling goes every year. Students come home with a planning guide. They get recommendations and teachers talk to them about courses in different subject areas. They get a period of time to kind of come up with a draft, what they think, and put that in PowerSchool, and then counselors meet with them. At that time, they come with any questions. So if parents have questions, they write them down on their planning guide. If they have questions, they write them down on their planning guide. They usually have it in notes in their phone, not really on their planning guide, but that's okay too. So they come to us with notes, either from you or from them, and then we meet with them. We answer all those questions. They're putting the answers in to share with you when they go home, and then we make changes together. After that, if a student has decided that they changed their mind about something and they need to make a change, or like a summer school thing came up, then we ask the student to message us. You can be copied on that, or you can sit with them and help them write it if that's a new skill to them. But the goal is for them to start advocating for themselves as mature high school students. And some might need a little more support from you than others to accomplish that. So work with them so that they can message us and we can reply. And then after that, there might still be a question lingering out there that you need to talk to us directly. Middle school counselors are a great resource. They know all of this stuff too. But we would also be happy to talk with you or to answer a question via email if we need to kind of wrap things up or just get a more specific answer for you. So those meetings are coming right after spring break, and we're really excited about that. Tonight, counselors will not be able to answer individual questions because we don't have their courses in front of us or their grades or teacher recommendations, all of those important things to be able to provide really great guidance or answers to your questions. So students will bring those with them for our individual meetings, but tonight you might have some questions for our individual departments. So all of our departments have tables set up in the hallway. So if you have a question for the math department or science, special education, English language development, our world language, PE, all of we have representatives for all of our departments out in the hallway. So if you do not have questions, then know that this presentation is already on our website. Every single slide. So you can check that out. You can scan the QR code at the bottom. It's also on the website, but this is our link tree that has all of the resources that you and your student would need to go through the scheduling process. That's there for you. So you can have that. And, anything else? So if you have everything you need for tonight, then we hope you have a great night. If you'd like to stick around and talk with our department heads and get some more specific questions answered about courses or sequence or anything like that, then they are available when you walk out in the hallway. Have a great night. We'll see you back here in May.